My name is Matthew Stice. Today I'll be doing the how-to speech. And today's speech I'm going to do it on how to quit drugs and alcohol for good and for all. To never go back again to using. And this speech I'm going to deliver to you from personal experience because it's been 2 years since I've used drugs and alcohol. And it's my opinion that a person can stop using for good and for all simply by combining, first of all, the AA book Alcoholics Anonymous as a bridge to the power source of the Word of God. So it's the big book and the good book combined that sets a person free. But in order for a person to do that, the first step is that person has to be willing to be honest with themselves. To come at this with an open mind and really to be broken at the point where they're willing to try something different. That's where I had to be in my life, and I'm going to take you through this today to show you that there's a simple solution to the problem of drugs and alcohol that is running rampant. It's basically an epidemic in this world today. So I'm going to start right now with the cycle of addiction. This shows how a person is completely insane because they keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. But the problem is lack of power. A person does not have the power to get out of this cycle that we're about to go through in a minute. So, because a person's selfish and self-centeredness, their choices which lead to actions, here's what happens to that person. They get blocked off from the needed power. You see, a person's sins, which can be explained as selfish thoughts and actions, separates a person from the presence of God, His power, and God's glory. So, here's what happens in addiction. See, it's a spiritual disease. This is what I never knew, but a lot of people don't know. They don't understand why a person cannot stop using drugs and alcohol. It's because it's a disease, yes, but it's a spiritual disease. So until you treat the internal condition, which we'll call spiritual malady, you cannot get out of this cycle of addiction. So it's a threefold disease because the disease is rooted in the mind and it affects the body. So we'll start with the root of the problem, which is a spiritual thing. And a person has a big hole right in the middle of them, a big void that they fill with external things. We'll use drugs, alcohol, but you see it could be other things in that. It could be gambling, girls, jobs, etc. So we put, to deal with this eternal condition and some effects of the spiritual malady is restless, irritable, and discontent. A person is uncomfortable in their own skin. Life becomes meaningless. They're restless. They're irritable. They're not okay. They're discontent until they fall for a lie that they tell themselves, which is a mental obsession, and they know if they put something in their body that they can get temporary ease and comfort from the spiritual malady. So we tell ourselves some lie that this time it's going to be different somehow, and because we haven't treated the internal condition, we mask the condition with putting something in our body, drugs or alcohol. And at this point, we have no choice but to use. You see, we are powerless against getting out of this cycle of addiction because we're up against a power that's far greater than we are. You see, we are separated from God's power and His presence and His glory, and we are left to fight against the powers of darkness on our own. So, we tell ourselves a lie because we can't sit around in this eternal condition, okay? We put something in our body that gives us temporary ease and comfort, and we've lied to ourselves saying that this time somehow it's going to be different, when we should know from our history that it's always the same result. So once we put this substance in our body to treat the internal condition that only masks it, we put it in our body has an allergic reaction to the substance, and once again we go on a spree. Okay? This spree takes us, and even though we told ourselves it was going to be different this time, the spree has taken us until we reach a truth or a consequence that stops this spree. Okay? It's not our own power that stops it. It could be jail. It could be no money. It could be becoming homeless. It could be several different things. But I'll tell you, a spiritual consequence to this goes right back to the problem. It's spiritual malady. So our selfish thoughts and actions have taken us once again, starting on this cycle to where we're feeding in this spiritual malady even more. We can't stop using drugs and alcohol, and only a consequence will stop us for a time. And then it's the same old story as it always has been. You emerge remorseful. You make a firm resolution that I've had enough, I'm gonna stop. But this firm resolution once again turns into a broken promise, because I'm still blocked off from the needed power that is going to enable me to get out of this cycle of addiction. I haven't addressed the eternal condition. It's a spiritual problem. And until I address the spiritual problem with the Word of God and let the truth come in to wash away the lies, I'm going to be stuck in this all by myself, left up against a power that I am no match against. Because once you get God's truth in the picture, addiction has to have lies to exist. It cannot function without lies and delusional thinking. So what we do is we get the truth through the Word of God into our spirit, which renews our minds so we don't fall for the lies anymore, and we start ourselves on a good cycle, back around on a good cycle, because we start to unlock this power. God's power starts to get into us, and the truth sets us free like it always does. So, let me read to you where I get this cycle from. This cycle is from the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, which is an awesome bridge to the Bible. Because people are hung up on who is God, what is God, this God idea. For me, it bridged me perfectly to the Word of God. So, let me read to you out of the doctor's opinion, page XXVI. Men and women drink essentially because they like the effect produced by alcohol. We drink, we put it in our body, we drink or we put drugs in our body to get temporary ease and comfort from the spiritual malady. Okay? So we do it for the effect produced, for the way it makes us feel. The sensation is so elusive that while they admit it is harmful, they cannot after a time differentiate the true from the false. You are so delusional, and you're believing your own lies that you can't even tell the difference. You sit around in this spiritual malady for long enough, you're so restless and irritable and discontent, you're going to tell yourself any little goofy lie, and you can't tell the difference between the truth and the false. Even though you know that this cycle leads to the same result every time, and that's the definition of insanity. Okay? So, to them, their alcoholic life seems the only normal one. They are restless, irritable, and discontent unless they can again experience the sense of ease and comfort that comes at once by taking a few drinks or doing a few drugs. They see other people doing this with impunity after they have succumbed to the desire again, as so many do, and the phenomenon of craving develops. They pass through the well-known stages of a spree, emerging remorseful, setting a firm resolution not to drink or use again, and this is repeated over and over again unless a person can experience an entire psychic change, that there is very little hope of his recovery. So unless a person can experience an entire psychic change through a spiritual awakening, through the truth of the Word of God, there's little hope for this person. Really, there's no hope for this person to recover. It is only the power of God that enables a person to pull out of this reckless way of living their life, which isn't even living, because as a result of this vicious cycle of addiction, it causes a spiritual malady, which the Bible refers to as a spiritual death. So you're experiencing spiritual death because you are separated from God's presence and His power and His glory and His love. That's why a person, you've seen it. Everybody has a person in their own family. You see people out there on the streets. You wonder why a person would live their life that way. It's because a person is suffering from a spiritual disease. Their mind is corrupt, and their body is falling into that trap. It's a double cross. It starts out fun using drugs and alcohol, but it ends up consuming you and controlling your life. So if you've ever wondered why a person just cannot stop on their own, they have no choice but to continue to use. And when they put it in their body, they have no control over it, because their eternal condition, the spiritual malady, has not been addressed. So this is to let everybody know there's a simple solution to the problem of addiction and alcohol. It's a spiritual problem, and it can be addressed with the power of God. So all of you who know people that cannot seem to stop using drugs and alcohol, and you've given up on them and you don't know what's the problem, I'll tell you, the problem is that they haven't got the truth, which is the power of God through His Word that changes lives. And this is a simple solution that's been around for so long. If we were to combine these two together, using the AA Big Book as a bridge to the Word of God, you see, AA came from the Oxford movement. It's a Christian-based movement. It's always been about the power of God. And the two founders of AA, you had Dr. Bob, who used the Bible in his early meetings, and you had Bill Wilson, that everybody knows, that tried to do his own thing away from the Bible. Dr. Bob, who used the Word of God, had a 90% success rate. Bill Wilson, on the other hand, was in the 20s, if not lower, and called Dr. Bob, asking him, "What are you doing that's different? Why is this not working?" It's because they got away from the Bible. The whole steps came from the Oxford movement, a Bible-based movement. Ebby Thatcher got saved by the Oxford movement. He went to see Bill Wilson. Bill Wilson saw the spiritual conversion in his eyes. It's undeniable when a person is transformed by God. You can see it in them. So now the whole Big Book came from that chance meeting of Ebby and the Oxford movement. He took to his old friend Bill. Bill's eyes got open to it. Bill started the AA with Dr. Bob. And now, what happened over the years? They pulled away from the source of the power. The higher power has always been Jesus. Jesus is God. The Word is God. They pulled away from that, and that's why it's not working this day. So what I'm suggesting is we go back to the origins of the Big Book and the steps, where it's always been about the Word of God. We go back to combining the two, and as you use the Big Book to bridge people to the Word of God, you show them the truth about it's a spiritual disease that affects the mind and the body. If they treat their internal condition, the spiritual malady, the mind and the body straighten out. It's that simple. I'm going to close with a scripture that kind of sums it all up. After a person cries out to God with an honest, open heart because they're broken and hopeless enough, then the power of God, His Spirit, comes and joins with your spirit. And then that's the beginning of this. I'm going to read today out of Romans chapter 8, verses 15 to 17. So you have not received the spirit that makes you fearful slaves. Instead, you received God's Spirit when He adopted you as His own children. Now we call Him Abba Father, for His Spirit joins with your spirit to affirm we are God's children. And since we are His children, we are His heirs. In fact, together with Christ, we are heirs of God's glory. So what happens here, by humbly surrendering, you are brought back to your eternal purpose. No longer are you separated from God's power and His glory, but His Spirit joins with your spirit. He becomes your Father. Your true identity is restored, and you are heirs to God's glory. You're an adopted son and daughter of the Most High, which is what we always were intended to be. So let's get back to the basics. If you want to quit drugs and alcohol once and for all, if you want to have a fulfilled life and your identity be restored, you're going to open yourself up to the power of God, and His truth will set you free. Thank you.